All right, welcome HBAR 330 students to one of your theoretical lessons that is left. As we have mentioned in class, these will be online recorded lessons that obviously I'll share with you in the WhatsApp group, so please have a look at it. It is about snooping and moving on to talent management. So, again, as with everything else, very important. Okay, so what I want to do is just share the slides. Give me a second. Here we go. And all right. And let's go through productive meetings, right? You might have recalled that a part of what we had covered in the last semester started to kind of synchronize or lay over or overlay this particular, obviously subject matter. So productive meetings, where I did start talking about snooping, and I did start talking about what we could possibly do strategically, to lessen the blow of the possibility of another bad show or a bad show or any and or of a bad moment that could have happened. Anything to strengthen you as you move forward with your growth. And in general, again, this is something that you should understand from both a manager's perspective and someone that is being spoken to, like yourself. I'm saying to you as a presenter or a broadcaster or part of the broadcasting team, right? The programming team. Okay, so and this is how we are also going to be running the this as well as the other lessons. Like I say, just before we went on break, to be very important, that we stick to what it is that we teach you. So make sure that you do understand that the feedback and the Snoop sessions are about being very direct and being very clear as to what it is that is maybe a concern, and also very clear and concise as to what is expected of you, as well as direction. Criticism needs to be constructive, right? And once again, just because we are working with a real, I say a real medium, so a live medium, unlike any of the other mediums as well, where there's again a bit of there's a bit of a delay with other mediums. We need to get the problems or anything that is problematic or an obstacle fixed immediately because of the direct and almost immediate effect that it has on the business, the radio station itself, because obviously it affects our listeners. And then comes back to us immediately. Right. Okay. So again, regular meetings, as we will have throughout the lesson. You've got your booked sessions that you are proactively booking yourself. So as many as you need, you'll come to me with your show. Please remember to send it to me before. Again, all the details on that Google Sheet and within that WhatsApp group that we do have. Please send it to me before we have obviously our Snoop session that is booked, so that I can just start the session immediately. Right. The aim is, once again, they are productive meetings. It is meant to, and it will help you grow, each one of yous within your own team, in your own dynamic, in your own role. Meetings should be conducted with both passion and compassion, right? And that is from the manager's side. So you'll see that with my handling of you, I really want to understand. I want to understand why it is that you did something, right? And obviously, the passion part is because you have someone, which is your lecturer, which is me, that is passionate both about the medium and obviously of your growth, right? Okay. So, what we need and what you know is that you have a short time with me. You have that hour and a half at the moment. For each group, and we are going to go through the show, not the entire show. I know there's 2 hours, and that's a lot of the time is us talking, right? So we'll be looking at the predominant amount of your links, but also having a look at how you segue, songs and your sweeps and your imaging and, the news and whatever it may be. We have to cover a lot and a lot of obviously feedback within that particularly short. amount of time, right? So yeah, snoops normally last anyway, just in general, about 30 to 45 minutes for any one particular person in the industry. Not pretty much anything longer, maybe to the maximum of an hour if a consultant is involved, or if there's serious work that really needs attention as well. Sometimes the best meeting place is a restaurant, a coffee shop, or a bar. Uh, because we are not going to do that, but I'll tell you why that is an option and sometimes does happen with your manager. Sometimes, we as DJs and presenters or part of the programming team do feel a little bit claustrophobic within the environment of the station itself, right? And it becomes a little bit too formalized, a little bit pressurized, whatever it may be. And we can bring a lot of unnecessary negativity and anxiety, whatever it is, into these meetings, kind of shell up, close up. And it might not be productive. And the manager needs to know that, you know what, sometimes I just need to take one presenter because you are predominantly doing solo shows. You just need to take the presenter out to show you that we're just having a conversation. It is a business conversation, but there is this investment in you. So we are connecting on a personal level here as well. So it can be a challenge to keep meetings interesting. If you're having a hard time getting started, pick one of the following ideas to energize your meetings. All right, we can analyze the best segment of the show today. We'll ask ourselves questions: what worked well? Pick one thing and analyze it in depth. I really, really like just break it down. Say like, was it the tone? Was it the brevity? Was it the direction of the content that kind of really concise? It worked so nicely the way that you worked in that connection with the listener, the way that you started your hook, the way that you dealt with call-ins or that particular interview, the research that was put in, just that confidence that you really displayed throughout the link, whatever it may be, right? There are many ways that you can break down that length, that best segment, okay, of the day. How do you know it actually worked? The thing is, it's one thing for someone to keep telling you, this and that and that and this, but the whole point of snooping is that you become self-sufficient in doing it yourself. And it's not a giveaway to station managers. Here is the reality of the matter. Every single day, if you're a weekday show, even if you're a weekend show, it doesn't matter. You go for weeks on end before you have another snoop session with your manager. And so you need to know, be very conscientious of what is working and what is not. So you are basically directly critting your own show every time you go on air, and then going to go construct a better way to approach it, right? So these particular skills that we are sharing within this particular lesson, as well as something that you have to know how to do for yourself for the rest of your on-air career. Okay, so you got to know why the whys, why it worked, why it was so great, why it was bad, why it felt uncomfortable, why it felt like I was missing something, whatever. I'm going to go into the weaker segment here. So how could it have worked even better? So added value. How can you repeat the process that caused it to succeed? Was it team dynamics? Was it more research? Was it that presence, etc., etc.? Right? How could you make more out of it? In other words, more dynamic or spin-off content, and maybe even learn to maybe like procreate some more, produce some more like styled content as well. Okay, anyway, definitely analyzing the weaker segments is important. When a patient dies, someone does an autopsy sometimes to understand the cause of death, right? So when a bit dies, your on a bit, your bit construction for that particular link is just it's some there's definitely one or many things wrong with it. It is a good idea to find out what went wrong. Then you're going to write your notes. You're going to make notes that so it can be imprinted in your head, and you're going to go practice in whatever way it is that's directed to you, and you know best for yourself to be stronger and to conquer that. Again, station managers do not have the time and do not have the capacity or the inclination to repeat like if you're making the same mistake 2 months later and another 2 months later and a month later, man, they're going to get super upset and they're just going to fire you, right? Okay, because you're just not listening and you're not trying, right? So if it were repackaged, maybe it could be salvaged in some other way. If you do it over, what would you change, right? Again, in those many different aspects that are mentioned throughout even just this first point with the best segment, there are many ways it can break down that weaker segment too. Should you try it again? Sometimes not a good. Sometimes it could be a possibility, not a good idea in general. If it was a bad idea, 10 to 1, it's because the idea didn't man, it didn't appeal to the audience, right? Okay, 10 to 1, the content wasn't relevant to the audience. It could be the situation could be that it could be great content, but you really did a bad job of planning and executing it too. So in that way, the listener didn't really care. We could take the core of it, spin off and repackage it and make it work for on air. But normally when content doesn't work, we just learn from it, leave it, and carry on and not go there again. Okay, again, considering why it is that it failed. Several common causes for a bit falling apart when you're not having fun. And again, this isn't a playground, but the thing is, you have to enjoy being on air and you have to have fun doing it because your listener wants someone that wants to be there, that obviously enjoys speaking them to them, enjoys like doing a feature and laughing, or really enjoys the process of interviewing someone or playing music or like learning something from an expert professional, whatever it is. That's fun, right? If you don't enjoy it, um, so I'm not, so this is where it differs in other jobs. You're like, you can be a bank teller, whatever it is, and you can hate your job extremely. No one is going to care. And I'll tell you why, because when you're doing a transaction or whatever it is at the bank, the main thing is the money that comes in or the money that comes out. Agree? Right? And obviously, again, the service delivery in terms of did you take the right amount? Did you give me the right amount? Did you I don't know access the right account, etc., right? So we don't really care in many, it's not important for a lot of careers for you to exude fun, but here, because it's an entertainment platform, like you best be enjoying yourself, right? Otherwise you and your show will be completely and just I'm going to say like poop, but you know what I mean, right? So you didn't prepare many times. The show launches a bit, and you try to wing it. Or you didn't prepare it properly, and a bit with an idea that came to them spontaneously. That still needs to be pre-prepped before you go. Even if it happens during the show, there you're like, I'm going to take at least 5 to 10 minutes until I'm ready for it, and then I'm going to go do the best of it. Exploit repeatable moments. So, what do we want to do? Maybe we can go and extend it to another dynamic topic like serial content, maybe tomorrow. Definitely go and podcast that stuff, like do like a bit of a cool edit, upload it to either Spotify or the station's landing page, as well share on those socials and continue that conversation going. Should look like you might have had a lot of feedback and people had a lot to say, but you just had to move on. You didn't have any more time, right? How did something happen that became a bit of a benchmark? So a way to do things, a benchmark, right? How often should it be performed, and can it be repurposed? Again, online stuff, right? Should there be a video component? How can it cause even more talk, right? So I have spoken already to, well, the one group, and I did say, and I did mention there, What's nice is that if you do the pre-recorded stuff, right, specifically for your shows, you can immediately start what I mentioned to you in the S1 that's coming up in the S1, which is you starting and putting like that entire professional effort into building your first and your first professional podcasting account in Spotify, Apple, Iona, right? And you can repurpose those things that those pre-recorded elements that you are using on the show. You can immediately start putting them in as podcasts on your own profile and get a bit of a starter on the summative without even knowing what the full summative is about. You know that it's about podcasting. Then you know that it is about podcasting things that are long length. So we're talking about anything between 7 and 20 minutes for the moment, right? Okay. So anyway, moving on. Building character equity. What one thing from uh, today's show could enhance character, role, or position of the show or a personality? So how could we do that? What can you do to take advantage of it? And then there's leftovers, which are always delicious, right? What was planned on air that you didn't manage to get two, because timing wise, whatever it is. So we can kind of leave it for another show and another spot, like a time spot that it was definitely something we know is a good idea, but now we can carry it on over to to another show because it's definitely something that we want to do. This also is when you are planning a show and you have a lot of ideas on a one day, then just go bank the ideas and say, you know what, let's do it next week. Let's do these other ones next week. Right. Okay. Competitive analysis. So, very important for you to know how your competitors are doing in this case, because you're doing Boston broadcasts. Who are your direct competitors? Tux FM, UJFM, Bow FM. Um, and these are the direct ones that you should be listening to. And again, at any one point, 'cause you're not on air all the time, so it makes sense that you would just put on one of these stations and listen. Like, what is the quality of what it is that they are producing? You know, how are the presenters? Like, how is the content? How's the music or whatever it is? Selection, I suppose, and rotation, and how does that affect the whole component, the whole product? How are they fitting the listeners' lifestyles? What segments are effective and why? And what can you learn from them? So, it's not to really copy and paste, but say that, when you see something being done right, you can take skills that you can apply, or components of it that you can apply, because you know that it's been tried, tested, and obviously applied in a setting that makes them work already. Acknowledging competitive strengths is not a sign of fear or weakness, but courage and confidence to know that let's say you are semi comfortable in thinking that your show is good, right? Because that's all you do is listen to that or whatever it is in in your own capacity or with your snoops or whatever it is. Like, it takes a lot of courage and confidence to actually like expose yourself to what else is out there. Just another three shows, for example, on three different stations, to see whether you are better than them. Because there's a lot more, and there are a lot more people out there that are doing shows in competition that are your age bracket, that are your ethnicity, that are your almost kind of like in the same personality range, whatever it is. And appeal to certain demographics that overlay with yours. So that's direct competition, and you need to know that you need to keep working to be one of the best, right? Not the best, that's ridiculous, but one of the best is more than enough. Okay, audience analysis. This is rewarding and fun. Avoid discussing the show and talk only about the audience. So, what is happening in their everyday lives? How are they reacting to the world around them? What worries them, excites them, motivates them, angers them? What causes them to lose sleep at night? What television shows are interesting to them? What magazines, blogs, websites are gaining their attention? And how are they spending their time this particular week, right? Um, so again, I'm not blaring through. This is very clear, and you should use this directly in saying, how can I get a starter pack right for what it is that it could possibly go and explore to speak about, you understand, on my shows and include on my shows, right? Capturing the moment, again, in productive meetings every day, there is one lead story. How will that event be reflected tomorrow? How can you use it to connect with listeners? Can it fit with the established features, or does it stand alone? Like currently, it is the racial issue within high schools, and then it is Zuma's expulsion from the ANC. I haven't checked the news today, but that was what it was yesterday. Okay. Uh, what? Let me just see here. This thing is that makes okay. All right. Explore personality roles. Each person relates what they have done in their lives recently, and how can this enhance the character of their personality itself, yourself? So the DJ and obviously the team members that are in your show. Shape each story into a list of possibilities and continue to explore until it becomes content. Right. So we also view that personality, obviously through the what is it, the composite listener, and also apply that same thing to your listener as well. But this has to do more about like what you're experiencing and how you can change what it is that your perception of the world around you into really relevant, useful, and cool, interesting content interaction. So explore new ways to invite the audience to participate. Social media, obviously emails, both text messages, DMs, right through the website, telephone calls directly. You've got so many different ways that you could possibly ask them just to interact quite simply, polls, that type of stuff. That doesn't really exist anymore across social mediums. I think only on X does it, can you actually make an actual poll anymore. It's taken away from the others, as far as I know. Anyway, so handy little tool there. Okay, cool. Guests, pick a topic and find a guest, expert, celebrity, character, from to form a different perspective, right, on what it is that you want to share a little bit more knowledge, new stuff, new information. Don't have someone in that has already been asked the questions that you've decided you want to also ask them too. That makes no sense, right? So definitely bring in someone to add value to the show, and then add value to that process by bringing in new angles, new information, like things that people don't know. Okay, what questions can you ask that provoke repeatability or provoke a repeatable, memorable content? Right. So, in other words, that kind of like me wanting to go and perhaps maybe follow that up, or it is followed up in other shows or whatever it is, or it's followed up in social media, or again, that it's followed up within the listeners' lives themselves. Prepare for guests to draw more out of them and listen to their comments to allow you to be spontaneous and to be engaging with them. So many points that we do have to go through. Let's keep going through them. Production values. So review every piece of production on the show. So the voice notes, the voxes, the pre-recorded elements, the if you've decided to put together a jingle or sound effects to any elements, obviously the volume at which you are playing songs or using the different channels, the volume of your own mic, the mic techniques, etc. Everything, right? Okay. And when something should actually, it's just so old hat, maybe we should stop already, maybe refresh those, those elements, like say, like an ID specifically, or for example, even bed music, right? Needs to be freshened up regularly, right? Information elements. Spend an entire meeting creating one new information element targeted to a specific audience's interests. Right. So again, remember we spoke about this, but I think it could have been also in the second years. But anyway, I'm sure it's also well, that means it's been covered with you in second year as well. So we look at specifics, like for example, if we are looking at a younger dynamic, like an 18 to 24 market, right? We can speak about fitness, right? Maybe not all the demographic is interested in fitness, but because the demographic, one of the demographics core, I'm saying composite profile extension, so little bubbles that come underneath there, right? Does talk about health and fitness. We can cover, for example, you know, we can bring in like trainers. We can bring in what do they call them, man? Like sports nutritionists, that type of stuff. That again, within our core audience, will it will appease our audience because they're still there. The core audience within these different cores within our audience, right? That's a better way of saying it. It's going to still appease them. Our other audience members are not going to be turned off because if they know someone that is health conscious, or they know someone or a friend or their mother or their sister or whatever it is, or they used to play sports or what, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to turn it off and never listen again. Okay, they might turn it off, right? But they will not stop listening. Okay, because just because of the fact that everything and all and everything doesn't apply to all and everyone within our demographic. So we want to be able to go and make sure that the varied interests of that composite listener are covered as well for opportunities for great content. How will it be reliable, timely, updated, useful, repeatable, and shareable? Right. Okay. So again, how should it be promoted and introduced? And you may never use what? Second, that needs to clearly. What is going on here? Sorry, I just need the process of. Why is that cut off? Excuse me. Ah, okay, let me finish that sentence there. Okay, so how should it be promoted and introduced? And you may never use the element on air, but the process of using it, I'm in capitals here, so using it off air, using it off air can be okay, can can be better suited. Okay, better suited. Okay. Right. Okay, let me just save that in there. All right. Okay. All right. Plan a promotion. What events are coming up? Think big. Over a century ago, Gustav Le Bon wrote 100 petty crimes petty crimes or petty accidents will not strike the imagination of crowds in the least, whereas a single great crime or a single great accident will profoundly impress them. And that sounds callous, but it's true. Even though the results be infinitely less disastrous than the hundreds of small accidents put together. So obviously we do. So I say not obvious. One of the obvious examples to use is the 9/11 attack, right? Because it was of global impact, but the capacity at which it went in the amount of planes that crashed, people that died, the stuff that I mean, just the repercussions on the world, and obviously the reaction from like kind of like quote unquote people saying this is the way that the world has put, America in place, and other people completely saying that that is completely inhumane, man. People's lives were lost, etc., 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 etc. Right? Claimed their lives in one day. The disaster claimed the lives of 3,000 people. Estimated toll death in the United States from influenza is over 20,000 people every year. But the tragedy of 9/11 was more important than what is a medical stat, basically, right? Recurrence. Okay. what had greater impact in their lives, right? Are you creating content and promotions that are big, vivid, and dramatic, or quietly spreading your message, one listener at a time? Create your future by planning the impact that you want to have on that listener. So, if three meetings are scheduled per week, these 15 meeting topics alone will take you through 5 full weeks, right? Recycle the meetings regularly and mix them with other styles to keep it fresh. Okay, right. Okay, so I don't. That's just so that's a quite an advanced semantic. You can leave that for the moment, right? And rather just let's just focus on how we can go one by one. All right, so just want to make sure once again that I'm not missing anything on that side, because now that I've seen that little bit of cut off there. All right, anyway, here we go. So, using air checks in a meeting, how do we conduct ourselves, right? If the meetings are boring, air check meetings are agonizing and obviously most likely going to be ineffective. So, for the most part, we're going to try avoid formal air check reviews and rather have a discussion, right? So, do use air checks as an integral part of the review process, especially to focus on areas that maybe, at certain points we may have overlooked. It can help to discover how a segment sounds instead of relying how it felt during its performance, right? So, as I said to you, what the strategy I'm going to use is that I'm going to ask you to focus on three specific things after we've obviously critted the show that you will fix and obviously master for the next show. We'll come back, first review those particular points, see where you did obviously succeed and why. If you didn't succeed, we'll discuss why, and then I'll give you like another three that you can go and fix, right? So that we have some kind of control and gradual growth there. Air check sessions should not focus on mistakes. We're going to focus on mistakes, but in this context, right? When it's flopped, we want to be able to. What we are going to do is listen when you've done something wrong and it failed, right? Affirming that it failed is a waste of time. So please understand this, right? We will look for this and that as an opportunity for you to grow. Why did it go wrong? Why were you not paying attention? Why wasn't this played, right? Mistakes are incredibly important, but to embarrass someone, I'd be like, oh, you sound pathetic, or oh, this just sounds so, this is, and then obviously maybe swear or whatever it is, which is super disrespectful as well. It's just like a program manager that doesn't belong in that position at all. Anyway, okay, there are three, so that's okay. There are at least three useful methods for successful air checks that you can go and use. All right, I want to just make sure, second, that this is here. We can go check this out. Uh, is it that short? Give me a second. You can't see it yet. Oh, here we go. Hey, air check for Dr. J. Let me just share that with you. Yep. What? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Excuse me. I'm going to share sound. Here, look. Check, yeah. All right. Here we go.
Hour 92. Okay, so I posted it on Facebook, the accident with the police officer in the school bus. Go check it out on Facebook at the Power 92 FM page at Power 92 FM to ya. You can also follow us on Twitter at Power 92 FM to ya. It's the afternoon drive. Dr. J looking after you. Love Too Deep, Frederick Dawn on your radio. CKHD, Power 92 FM. Dr. J looking after you.
let's just quickly we can do some basic crit on the first one. Let's say on each element, right? So let's say the first element, that's fine. He threw forward to the socials, so obviously pushes there and does a little bit of a teaser, and that's cool. So that's some good crit there. This isn't.
It is the afternoon drive, 44 minutes after 4 p.m. Don't take it personal. It's Monica on your radio. It's old school music. It's a way back playback Wednesday. Gonna do another one for you. -4 outside. Feels like -11. We're expected up to 10 centimeters of snow overnight. Keep it locked. We're gonna talk about Avril Lavigne and what's going on with her. Apparently she's having some health issues. It's Power 92 FM. Big Papa. From 1994 is Notorious B.I.G.
Right, so that for me is just there's too much information in that one particular short link. So I think there was that back announce, obviously. Then there's this uh uncomfortable because he goes too fast into there was a piece just between that and then when he spoke about the weather randomly, so which is and then speaking about Avril Lavigne as a teaser, it's just a little too much in one link, and that's just a little bit messy.
With style and grace, allow me to. You're listening to Hit Music Radio. Power 92 FM. 13 minutes after 5 p.m. Toronto time. Dr. J looking after you. It's the afternoon drive. So how you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. Get myself worked up to go on the turntables for you at 6 o'clock for the Power Mix at 6. Make sure you keep it locked for that. Here's new music in here from The Weeknd. Track is called Often. Let's crank it up. It's Power 92 FM.
Kind of the only thing I would say there is maybe like lose the cliche, like locked into like those type of really old radio terms. Kind of stay away from that.
Your number one online radio station, Power 92 FM, with the afternoon drive with yours truly, Dr. J, looking after you. Find me on Twitter at DJ.Doctor, and you can also follow me on Facebook at DJ Dr. J. Zed's dead. Lost you on your radio. I get to thinking that night that I should call you.
That was fun. That's simple and easy. He doesn't really talk a lot, but okay.
Got a concert announcement coming up very soon about Def Leppard. You don't wanna miss this one, I'll tell you. 31 minutes after 5 p.m. Reel to reel.
Okay, so that's not enough of a teaser. Like he's got to explain a little bit more. Got to give us a little bit more about this Def Leppard concert.
13 minutes or less going live on the turntables for the Power Mix at 6, so keep it locked. Sonique on your radio. You always make me smile.
Yeah, again, just it's kind of the same thing. Just said there, it's just far too short, you know.
Did you know that vinyl's back?
Not that it ever left.
Orange Monkey Music, 5 Princess Street West, Waterloo, Ontario.
Your go-to place for vinyl, CD, cassettes, DVDs, and more. Keeping vinyl alive since 1994.
Visit orangemonkeymusic.com or give them a call at 519-886-0939 and say hi to Vince and Charles. Vintage vinyl, rock and roll. Oh!
Okay, so obviously that's just a little bit of a demo for his own, for his voice acting, right? Okay, let's take that off there. Let's go back to the pass and round it up. Here, this here. Here we go. Just want to round that up here. Okay. Here we go. All right, so let's go back to some points still within the meetings. How can they be held? There's 3 different types of productive meetings. The skimmer, this is where this is pretty much the one everyone hates, according to your theoretics, right? Listen carefully to every single word. It is the one everyone hates. Paying close attention to detail, but pick only a handful of segments to analyze. Oh, listen to everything. that person, that presenter has to say and how it was said. The skimmer is useful as a basis for future evaluation and for younger, less experienced personalities and also new personalities to the station, right? But should be used less frequently as with more experienced shows, right? The real time air check. So, this is a tactic that will allow you to hear the show in a new way. We record the entire show without edits, like we do with you. I believe everything, including the commercials, every member of the show takes a day off to listen to the show in real time as the audience hears it, then have it on, like obviously, like playing back in a car or, while you're working at home or you're doing your homework, whatever it is, or you're, maybe at the gym or whatever it is, so that you can have the same experience that the program manager is going to have when they do listen back to the show as well. So I obviously like that's a nice one that we will do this one as well. The skimmer is going to be we're going to break it down, but we are definitely doing this thing here. Selective air check. This tactic produces great results and it's time efficient. So we use using short, carefully selected audio segments to emphasize a key point. Takes little time, encourages deep conversation, and produces actionable steps for improvement. Use it to correct bad habits, confirm progress, or to monitor a new idea. So you can see already that I'm going to be doing a culmination of all these three, so that you get experience and you can experience how they play out. Sure. Right. Typical talent problems, lack of preparation. Yeah. Do we have to say anything more around that? So we'll note that specifically because the segments sound messy, because you're talking rubbish, because the preparation in terms of production wasn't done well enough. There's dead air for whatever particular reason because you don't know how to play from the WhatsApp or you don't, whatever it is, you haven't set up correctly. So that's all part of preparation content that is hard to understand. So we are talking about messy content. Like I'm saying, it's constructed in a messy way. It's missing payoffs. It's missing hooks. It's maybe included, like in terms of what's more important was included later on in the link and should have gone maybe first. Maybe some of the stuff should have been omitted altogether. Multiple thought sets, ugh, very dangerous, right? When you are including multiple thought sets, we do speak about many different ways that we can, I suppose, structure the same train of thought. And what we are asking around our main core point, but we mustn't talk about oranges and apples in the same in the same link. It just doesn't make any sense, right? The audience is not going to respond because they don't know what it is that they need to respond to, but also they're going to be like not pleased as well. Like emphasis on the wrong material, so you become bored long before the listener because you listen 100% of the time. The listeners don't. Lack of immediacy, so what is happening now? And if something did happen, like I say, throughout the weekend, you're doing a weekend show, you're doing a Friday, whatever it is, you've got to contextualize it as to why it's important for the Friday as well. You understand, right? Losing interest, listening for consistency in promoting upcoming segments and delivering repetitive content with enthusiasm, right? We want that. We want that. So, sloppy placement of elements. So, when a personality is careless, listening patterns are disrupted and exceptions are unmet expectations. So, in other words, the mandatory stuff, man. So, listeners count on content being delivered when they expect it, right? Songs being played out, no dead air. No like no crashing of any type of vocals, that type of stuff, right? All right, inflection. So listen for unnatural emphasis on words like and, the, and is. Pay attention when a listener says that you sound different in person than you do in real life. Let me just finish that there. Than you do in real life. Okay. All right, nearly towards the end there. Okay, so what's next for you? Just basically listen. Yeah, the only failure is not achieving your potential. And that is very big. If you just take that in, know that every single, so let's say when you do learn something, bank it. So you have to, when you learn something properly, you only have to learn it once, right? So make sure that as you are learning, you're growing 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%, 6%, and you're continuously growing that you'll never, ever, ever actually reach 100% because no one can do that and no one that's good ever stops growing, right? But don't take setbacks as a cue for you to go back to zero. Do you understand? When you do learn something, like I say, bank it and move forward so that you know you are able to grow and you're in the right place at the right time in your growth. Okay. All right. Past exercise. More likely, um, something that you can. So this was not in lesson 22. I think it was. Well, I think it was. I'm not too sure, but just go back to the character profile that you started with, right? Okay, because I've changed uh the and I've changed the lesson numbers and I've reconstructed the stuff. And now start the conversation on your Radio 3 WhatsApp group on the Call Campus Forum. Right. First, tune that profile to represent you as an industry professional. So, a profile description of what would be published on your LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook fan page, or TikTok. Very important, right? Here we go. We will role play through the next couple of weeks in our content classes as a group. So when I do see you, especially when we are also while we're doing these snoops, I'll ask the one person to put themselves in the role of a presenter to be able to really like lock into what it is that they might be thinking so that they can criticize them properly as a team member. We will obviously play reverse roles. We'll also role play one student and as a manager. So this is when we come back. I'll rather do this when we come back and we are a group. So post the shows and we start working towards the S1. And then that person as a manager would start giving advice and guidance to other students, right? Something to look forward to. We also run an interview session between one student and another student for an on-air start at a commercial radio station. That's cool, right? That'll be fun as well. Students must make notes of their assessment of each interaction and share with the class. Something to look forward to. Okay. All right. Great. Then yeah, that's pretty much what I have for you today. See you in the snoops. Please go and book in that Google Sheet. And remember, if you don't know something, that make sure that we haven't already explained it to you, and it has not been already explained in the WhatsApp group. And if it hasn't, or it has, and you're still confused, please make a point of reaching out so that we can assist you. Enjoy the week.